So, you're wearing a parental alienation as court-sponsored child abuse shirt. What exactly does that mean?
That means that the courts allow our children to be mentally abused, basically, by one parent, and they pit our children against the other parent.
Now, how do they do that?
Using different tactics, like telling our children lies or embellishing things we may or may not have done, and making it a new reality for them.
So it sounds like you have had some experience with it then?
Yes, I've had lots of experience. And it happens in an intact family too. So.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience?
My experience started actually right after my second child was born.
Okay.
And my ex-husband, my husband at the time, would talk badly about me in front of the children and belittle me in front of them.
Uh-huh.
And then my children would start maybe name-calling or disrespecting me.
Uh-huh.
And
he didn't do anything about it. He just let it
didn't do anything. He would usually laugh about it.
Encourage it almost?
Encouraged it.
Okay. So how many kids do you have?
I have 4.
And you said now the second one is when he started doing that?
The second one he started doing it. And then I had twins 2 years later. So we have 4 children together. And he left when our twins were 5 weeks old and announced that the twins weren't his because he had a girlfriend. So, not that it's good, but he left when they were 5 weeks old, so he never bonded with them whatsoever.
The twins weren't his. I mean, if he has a girlfriend, that doesn't mean that... Anyway, go ahead.
The twins weren't his, they're all 4 his. But apparently he didn't want infants. So
yeah.
He kidnapped my older 2 back then during a baby shower.
When you said kidnap, tell me a little bit more what you mean by this. How did he kidnap them?
Some people call it parental kidnapping or legal kidnapping. I'm a mother. I call it kidnapping. I didn't know where my children were for about 4 days. And finally realized they were in Houston, which was about 7 states away.
So what you're saying here, if I understand you, you were already divorced, or you weren't divorced?
We were not divorced.
You were not divorced, and he just ran off with the kids?
Ran off with the kids. He came into the middle of my baby shower with all my friends and family and stated the twins were not his because one had a different blood type.
Okay.
Which is O positive, which is recessive gene, which is my father's.
Okay.
But it was an excuse to get out of the marriage.
Okay. You are divorced right now?
I'm divorced right now.
And how long have you been divorced?
Almost 18 years. It took me 3 years to get divorced that time because he was hard to find.
Okay.
And I had to go through it for 3 years, 3 long years. And during that 3 years, he saw our children twice.
So, give me some idea, like as far as the age of the kids. I mean, it sounded like it almost sounds like you didn't see the kids for many, many years. Is that correct?
Well, he would go anywhere from 12 to 18 months between each visit.
Okay.
And that wasn't because of me. I begged and pleaded that he would be part of their life. And if he had to, even pretend that he liked them or loved them. My children would hear from him sporadically, and then he would tell the children he would be there in 2 weeks, and then around the 10th day he would call and say he wasn't going to show up.
Okay, so what type of a relationship does he have with them right now?
Right now he's got all 4 because he abducted my older 2 in 2013 from the school and bribed them with an Xbox and an Audi. And
a car, an Audi?
A car.
Okay.
A used one. So I was traded for an Xbox and a used car. And took him from the school without my permission. I didn't even know he was in town, actually. So the following day I went to the same school because the rule of law, I think, nationwide is first come, first serve if there's not a no contact order. So I arrived at the school and said I'm going to take my children out. It was 10 minutes before school ended. And the principal said my children were scared of me, and the principal locked them in their rooms, in each individual room from the outside. And I told him that was illegal, and I sat in the lobby and said I'm not leaving without my children. He then called the police, and the police made me leave without my children. And I was the primary parent all their life, and it wasn't even my ex's visitation time.
Okay, so after you got divorced, you had what kind of visitation? In effect?
Our visitation was fairly flexible. He's a pilot, and so the only thing I asked for is for him to give me me a 72-hour notice,
Uh-huh.
but I was very reasonable. I said he could see him anytime he was in town, and if he couldn't make it to town, I told him since we had free flight benefits, I would fly the kids to him.
Okay.
But he never took me up on that offer.
So, but now you're saying the kids live with him.
We live with him.
And how often do they see you?
Never.
So you're the one who raised them and they don't see you right now?
Correct.
When was the last time you saw them?
The last time I saw my oldest daughter was November 2nd, 2013.
So you're talking almost 3 years ago.
Yes.
Okay, and then...
I did see her once. I saw her graduate, and then when she got off the stage, she told me that I hadn't done anything in her whole life.
Wow. And what about the other ones?
My son, I have only seen him graduate since November 2013, and then he snuck out of his father's home and came to another graduation party to visit me for a few hours the following day, but he was very nervous.
So it sounds to me like what you're saying is that the father is putting them in a situation, he's almost frightening them from seeing you?
Yes.
Or
They've been scared of him even when we're in the intact family. They're very scared of him. He's very daunting. He's large. I mean,
is it almost like
guy?
Is it almost like one of the Stockholm syndrome, do you think?
Very much so. Very
Okay.
much so. And he only has all he has to do is when they say something he doesn't appreciate, he just makes a grunting noise, like and they cower down. And they put their heads down and do whatever he says to do.
So has there been any physical abuse of them, do you think, or?
None that I know of. It's more mental. And he pits the siblings against each other too. He's done that forever. So he was working on the older two against the twins for quite some time. He never really came around until 2012. And when he did, he would give my oldest daughter a credit card and told her not to give the twins any food if she ordered out. If I was at work and she wanted to order pizza, they were not allowed to eat it. If she drove her car, he said that the twins could not be in the car.
And yet now the twins are with him.
Right.
Wow.
He also said that the car was not to be used for my convenience, so I had to follow my daughter to the same area just to take my twins to school.
So have you tried to appeal through some type of legal processes for some type of help? I mean, it sounds like a case where you mentioned it was basically parental kidnapping.
Yes.
And I mean, I would think that there would be some laws governing that. So
No, there's no laws governing that.
okay.
At all.
So
None that I can see in Iowa.
okay. So any parent can just take any children at any time?
Anytime, especially state to state. If you take them maybe out of the country, you might be able to get the FBI involved. But if you take them from one state to the other, the police will tell you it's a civil matter and to call a lawyer.
And the lawyers do what?
The lawyers take your money. They won't answer your emails or your calls, but they will charge you for each email you send them until your money runs out, your retainer. So far, I've went through 3 lawyers, and I still haven't seen a courtroom. And my temporary order for the twins that he took March 19th, 2015 is still a temporary order, temporary primary. And he got that order by not serving me correctly. I was never served, and I was not at a hearing, and he was able to do fraud upon the court and told the judge that I didn't have the children in school. He told the judge I had 3 pending cases through CPS in 3 different states. None of this is true. Told them that I've drugged my children down the stairs by their hair. We didn't have stairs. Told them that I was bipolar and diagnosed by a marriage counselor years ago, but marriage counselors can't diagnose. And also, my twins never knew we went to marriage counseling because they were in utero.
Wow. What do you think about the judges then? I mean, you obviously you've been through a lot of things with the
Yes.
at least with the attorneys. Have you ever made it to court?
The only thing I've made it to court for is the motion withdrawal hearing. The lawyer wanted to quit because I turned him into the Iowa Supreme Court, Department of Justice, and the U.S. Supreme Court. And he got angry and said he wanted to do a motion to withdraw, leaving me as pro se, but the judge said he would delay my court so I could hire an attorney, but only give me 60 days. So then when I wanted an expert, parental alienation expert, they stated it was not outside of the 90 days, so I was denied an expert witness.
Wow. So he kept your money, I'm assuming?
Got my money.
And how much did that cost you for his nothing work?
Last one was $10,000. Now he wants $1,500 just to do the contempt hearing, which is already combined with the, I call it my fate hearing at the end of this month. But I'm not going to pay it.
Do you want to give out a name?
Yeah, that lawyer is Mark Henshaw.
Okay.
And he's
Sounds
with
pretty
Hawkeye,
corrupt.
He's with Hawkeye Divorce in West Des Moines, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
The last lawyer was Rich Webster, West Des Moines, Iowa. Same building. What an ironic thing. My judge, this particular judge, is Judge Holz.
Mm-hmm.
He was told that my daughter was raped by 4 boys under my ex-husband's care. And after he was told that, he threw up his hands and said he didn't know what to do. And 3 weeks later, he gave my ex primary of her. My ex never reported the rape, never called me to tell me about the rape. I had to hear it from a young man I didn't know.
Wow.
2 months later.
Wow.
Another judge is Judge Mertz. When my ex kidnapped my kids on the 6th time and left the twins again, Judge Mertz ordered us into a co-parenting class, said that we had to go together. I explained to her I was afraid of him and everything I say gets turned around, and she said, tough, you're going together whether you're afraid of him or not. And she forced our twins that have no bond over to him, even though I went 28 days without the others. She said 29 days won't matter then.
Did you have any good judges ever?
I did have one good judge, and I'll give her name, Mary Pat Gunderson. She's
Okay.
very well liked in Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay.
What she did is she read right through him. She knew about the gaslighting, what ambient abuse is, what parental alienation is. She told him he's the most disingenuous man she's ever met. She asked why he wouldn't pay child support. He said it was a court bill, he wasn't going to pay it. She asked why he stopped the medical, and he said he didn't have the money. Then she asked how much he made. He said he makes $29,000 as an international pilot for American Airlines.
That doesn't seem possible.
No. So she went to the back room and came back with a big book and said, tell me about your per diem.
Okay.
So she was on to him, and I really don't care about the money. I needed it. He was never around. I did need it, but I was also working. But I have 4 children. But I would rather go without any money and just see my children.
Yeah.
But Judge Gunderson asked me if I wanted him to go to jail that day, and I said no. I don't want him to go to jail. He's the father. I just want him to do what's right. I want to be able to love these children and care for them and parent them and still have the flexibility to see them whenever and him to see them. And she turned to him and said he was the most disingenuous man. He had lied and fraud upon the court. He was going to jail. He went to jail that day in his pilot uniform. I think she was more upset that he wore his uniform. So he went to jail for 90 days. My children were upset about it, and I got him out in 7. I told them that he would come after him in 6 months, and he made a liar out of me. He came after him in 8. But I still did get him out, something he probably wouldn't do for me.
That's right. Right.
But that's not where I want to see him. I don't want to see him in jail.
Yeah.
I just want to see my kids.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would say anyone going through this parental alienation, you need to make sure that your children are not being sent to a counselor that's not a forensic psychologist.
Okay.
Because counselors will form a therapeutic alliance with your children. And so, let's say there's false allegations of abuse. The children go in there stating these false allegations of abuse, things that they've been brainwashed to say. The counselor is now counseling them on something that didn't happen. And it fosters more alienation in the children. And I believe, in my opinion, the children hear it from a professional again, and they think this must really be happening to me.
Got it.
So my children were actually court ordered to go to reunification therapy. I thought it would work, but they really need to be removed from the home for it to work. And driven from Texas to Des Moines, Iowa 10 times in 5 months, and I take pictures of empty chairs. He doesn't show up.
Wow. So, where are you from in Texas?
I live in Grapevine, Texas.
Okay.
Fort
And
Worth, and I'm from Des Moines, Iowa.
okay, let me get your name again.
Jodi Mueller.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to say anything to your kids?
Yeah, I want to say Kaylin, Ian, and Courtney and Kylie, I love you, and I created my 2 groups in honor of you. Parental Alienation Awareness Iowa and Parental Alienation Warriors Unite. And I think about you every day, every minute of every day. And don't believe the things you're being told. None of it is true. And just try to keep me in your heart, your memories, and I'll never stop. I'll never stop looking for you. I'm always here. And I'm just a phone call away. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop fighting. I'm fighting not only for you, but I'm fighting for your future children. I love you very much. Love you to the moon and back.
I hope that you get reunited with your children. Really sorry that you're going through all of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.